Whoa there, partner. This video ain't big enough for the two of us.
Actually, I'm here too.
Alright, if you're gonna be summoning voices in my head, then I'm just going back off. Proceed, partner.
Thank you. Actually, speaking of cowboys, I've been playing a lot of Weird West. This is the first game from Wolfeye Studios, which was founded by veterans of Arkane's Dishonored series. Like those games, Weird West offers a ton of freedom in how you tackle its quests and combat. That's all well and good, but if you know comics, then just the name Weird West probably stands out to you. Let's turn the page and see what that's all about. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying the team at Wolfeye got all of its ideas from comic books. In fact, co-founder Rafael Colantonio told AusGamers that it was other games like Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare and series like American Horror Story that inspired the setting and characters. But there's a particular comic series that closely relates to the game, and it serves as a great framework for examining it.
I see what you did there. And I like comics, so this should be fun.
The comic in question is called Weird Western Tales. You can probably already see where I'm going with this. Introduced by DC in the early 70s, it was a Western version of Weird War Tales, which combined horror elements with stories about soldiers. It worked well for the war genre, so why not try it with the Western? Weird Western Tales included supernatural elements like ghosts, and it brought us standout characters like Scalp Hunter and Jonah Hex. While the idea of fusing the Wild West with horror didn't start with these comics, they did give us the name of the format, Weird West.
Ain't that the name of the game you're talking about, partner?
You're darn tootin'. So while Weird West is literally the term for this kind of media, the comics themselves appear to have bled into the game. I see similarities in both the art style and the story.
That girl, something mighty off about her. A look in her eye, dead as river stone.
Weird West oozes with style from the opening cinematic, which gives you an idea of what to expect in the coming adventures. Zombies, witches, and all manner of monsters are shown in blazing brown, yellow, and orange. If you've read physical comics, then you've probably already spotted another key component of the style, Ben-Day dots. It's time for another quick history lesson. Ben-Day dots are named after their creator, Benjamin Henry Day Jr. You see, back in everything was printed in just 4 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. We still mostly use CMYK for printing today, but of course we can do a lot more with it. Back then, they had to get creative. The Ben-Day process takes those 4 colors and places them in images as a series of tiny dots, which creates shading and secondary colors with the same 4 primary colors already in use. These Ben-Day dots became the look of Sunday comic strips, and eventually the look of pulp magazines and comics from the mid-1900s. Compare this panel to Weird West's intro. See the dots? They're used stylistically in real-time gameplay as well.
Well, that is mighty interesting. And I think canonically I'd historically overlap with Mr. Day.
When the game is active, we see another aspect of the comic book look: cell shading. This common style is a deliberate attempt to make 3D models look like something that's printed on a page or drawn on a sketchpad, the way a comic book would be presented. Cell shading is a technique. It doesn't refer to a single look. Think of how American comic books are all the same medium, but can have wildly different styles. Compare this cover of DC's Batwoman to Invincible from Image Comics. Both look great, both are comic books, and both have their own style. As for video games, let's put Borderlands next to Zelda the Wind Waker. Again, different styles, but both are rendered with cell shading. And here's Weird West. There's a flatness to everything on screen here, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. Textures are applied in a way that suggests a printed 2D format. This is all about evoking the look and feel of a comic book. In fact, if you journey to the edge of any map, you'll see actual tears and earmarks, as if you really were running around atop a printed page. Between the blatant Ben-Day dots, the cell shading, and the overall style, there's a clear evocation of pulp comics.
I'm inclined to agree, son, but when we gonna get to the action?
Okay, let's talk story now. Weird West is told across 5 chapters, which the game calls journeys. You've got a bounty hunter who's looking for her missing husband, a pig man trying to figure out his true identity, a protector from the Lost Fire Nation tracking an evil spirit called Wendigo, a werewolf looking to grow his clan, and a one-iris witch trying to prevent the apocalypse she saw in her vision. Even from those brief introductions, you can see how the game blends the weird and West in its title. The bounty hunter story seems the most grounded, but you can bet you'll still run into cannibals and zombies and cave monsters along the way. Much like weird Western tales, Weird West slowly sinks deeper and deeper into supernatural elements. Early issues pit Jonah Hex against typical hired guns and wild animals, but by issue 18, he's facing a wolfman that lives inside someone's barn. Weird West follows a similar trajectory, easing you into more and more bizarre situations. While single stories can feel comic booky, the way they all blend together evokes the medium even more. Weird West offers you seemingly endless choices, from how you interact with townspeople to the way you approach each scenario. You can go in with guns blazing, sneak around, or carve your own path forward, but you can't do all that without repercussions. From the outset, Weird West makes it clear that it's a game about actions and consequences. What you do in one journey has a ripple effect across the others. Again, comic book fans might already know where I'm going with this. It feels like a crossover. We've talked about DC already, so let me bring in some Marvel stuff now. One of the first notable early crossovers pit Iron Man against Namor the Submariner. The battle started in the Iron Man and Captain America book Tales of Suspense, then continued in the Submariner and Hulk book Tales to Astonish. Was it a marketing ploy? Absolutely. Are all comic book crossovers just there to get you to buy issues you normally wouldn't? Probably, but this channel is about positivity, not cynicism.
Well, I've always been more of a nihilist myself anyway.
This trend, of course, continued, and in the 80s, Marvel introduced Secret Wars, the first crossover event of its kind. Spider-Man, Captain America, the Hulk, Iron Man, the Fantastic Four, Thor, and the X-Men were all involved. Marvel Team-Up and Avengers issues played into the plot too, but we'll come back to those in a moment. The point here is that one event had effects in the storylines of multiple characters. And the exact same thing happens in Weird West. For example, the Pigman journey has a prominent side character named Pigman Joe. This is a spoiler-free video, so suffice it to say that I helped him in his personal quest. In the very next journey, I was playing as a totally different character, the Protector, and I stumbled across Joe in a confrontation with another Pigman. Had I not helped him before, he might not have even been there. But he was. And because we already shared a connection from the previous chapter, I immediately took his side. Later in the Protector's chapter, I recruited the Bounty Hunter to my posse. One quest even sent me back to Galen's Crossing, an important set piece for the Bounty Hunter's own story. Furthermore, because of actions I took while playing as the Bounty Hunter, a group of bandits with a vendetta against her ended up tracking me down. That's how immersive sim video games work, of course. But in examining it through a comic book lens, it's as if a previous issue of Bounty Hunter Monthly had a crossover with Tales of the Lost Fire Nation.
You know, I reckon I'd read those if Bessie had them at her store.
Even the simple act of recruiting other characters to my squad gave me crossover vibes. The Avengers and Marvel Team-Up are exactly that. Pairings of multiple superheroes that help them face bigger threats as a team. Building my crew evoked the same feelings. A late-game quest actually involved all 5 playable characters, which felt like one of those iconic moments you only earn once you've spent time with each individual character. Once again, if you're a Marvel fan, you know the exact feeling I'm describing.
Avengers! Assemble.
All of this serves to make Weird West feel like one cohesive world. Mechanically, it certainly is. All 5 characters share the same overworld map, so you can visit key locations from anyone's journey and interact with their supporting characters. The consequences of your choices play out across each successive story too. Thematically, it feels like one tall tale, or a collection of short stories. Issues of Weird Western tales often worked exactly like that, with split stories that focused on Jonah Hex and Scalp Hunter, or others like Cinnamon and El Diablo.
Alright, I'm gonna level with you, partner. If I heard some fella's name was El Diablo, I would not tangle with him.
I wouldn't either, but I would absolutely jump into Weird West again. It's a great game on its own merits, but the comic book influence really sticks out for me. There's a visual style that evokes classic pulp stories with graphical tricks like Ben-Day dots and cell shading. And there's a storytelling style that lets you see the consequences of your actions play out across multiple journeys, like a comic book crossover that pulls in various heroes. So if you're itching for a new adventure, Weird West is worth wrangling.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what Framework is doing, definitely hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see what we've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.